Good afternoon all, and thank you for joining us for another Secret Sunday session today. Today I'm joined by Chris Walker and I'm very privileged to have him on today. Today we're going to be talking about his journey and also what he is doing now with his business Fund My Challenge. And then we are also going to go in talking about topics about mental health. So to kick us off, Chris, do you just want to start off by saying who you are and what is it that you do?
Yeah, my name's Chris Walker. I come from a family of four boys. I had the privilege to play roughly 13 or 14 years in the NRL, playing for a number of teams. Sort of got myself into trouble off the field with a number of teams, but that was a part of my journey, and that's something that there's some little things that I could look back in my life and look back in my journey and want to take back, but I can't. But that's me. So. And now I had an earth moving business when I was when I was playing football as my exit strategy from rugby league, and now I'm doing a lot of stuff with Fund My Challenge, helping. It's a platform that helps raise money and awareness for the good charities. There are a lot of charities out there that I've learnt in the last 2 years that with the funds, the funds don't go to 100% where they need to go. So, Fund My Challenge was born on the back of, I guess Celeste Barber and what she did with the fires and where money was going to give that donor confidence to know that the charities that are on our platform do a hell of a lot of good, and a lot of the money that is donated is actually going to where it's supposed to go. So. Yeah, it's been a fair journey, and I'm really pleased to be in this space, because when you do help someone and you do help people, it's amazing what it does for your own mental health and for your own journey to where you're going to be ultimately, for your ultimate maker. So it's been awesome. It's been a really good journey.
Awesome. Now, if I take you back to the initial moments when you started your career in rugby league, how was that experience for you?
Yeah, it was unbelievable. I had the beauty of having two older brothers sort of trailblaze their way through rugby league and into the Broncos. So my transition from school into that community of professional rugby league was the transition was pretty smooth, because I had an older brother, Ben, who he's 4 years older than me. Then my other brother, Shane, he's 2 years older than me. My younger brother, Luke, he's 4 years younger than me. But I had Ben and Shane sort of trailblaze their way into the Broncos. So me leaving school in Toowoomba and taking that journey and taking that massive step to play for the Brisbane Broncos was pretty seamless, because I knew so many of the first graders. I knew Wayne Bennett. Wayne Bennett coached my father when he was a young kid as well. So my transition from school into a professional rugby league player was pretty smooth, because I had that initial contact with the first graders, because my two older brothers were playing for the Broncos and they were playing first grade. So I wasn't overawed or wasn't intimidated when I walked into the dressing sheds when I first started my first pre-season with the Brisbane Broncos. That's how it all started for me. And like I said, I had a very good career. There were some ups and downs, both mentally, physically, and everything in between. So I've treaded a pretty good path.
Yeah, wow. Is that kind of a lot of pressure to take on when you know that your brother's already excelling in the sport, that you have to live up to that expectation then?
Yeah, there was an area of expectation, especially having two brothers, yes, that have been playing first grade for the Broncos, and me coming down, and there were eyes on me. But I had the personality that I was just in my own world anyway. So I didn't listen to any outside noise. I wasn't taken back by any criticisms, because it all was, back when I was a young kid, it was all water off a duck's back. It wasn't until I got to an older age, more years of playing first grade, the bad press and the negativity towards me sort of affected me, and I must have been in a headspace to deal with that, because I remember I was getting death threats playing rugby league. So, and I rang Wayne, and I wasn't coached by Wayne at that time. I was at South Sydney. I was getting death threats, and I rang Wayne. I said, "Listen, I'm really worried about me getting death threats." And he said, "No one's ever going to tell you they're going to kill you before they kill you." So he said, "Don't worry about it." So those sort of mental things also too made me maybe a lot stronger in the brain too, a lot stronger in that mental capacity too, because I was a country kid and I'd never really experienced anything like that. But it's once you take yourself out of that mental state and know that you're doing the right thing and you're on a good path yourself, nothing else really matters about what people say about you anyway.
Yeah. Do you think fans and spectators don't actually know how much rugby league and their comments takes a toll on rugby league players?
But it's only if you let them. That's what I learned really, really, really quickly. Especially having, my brothers have also, they were getting, negative comments. But I remember Wayne Bennett said to me one day, I said, it's starting to affect me what I'm hearing, what people are saying to me out in the field. And Wayne had a really good comment, and it stayed with me. It stayed with me for 16 years. I'm 41 years of age. Wayne told me when I was 25. He said, I said, Wayne, because I used to ring Wayne. I've got a good relationship with Wayne. And I said, this is what's happened. I said, it's starting to affect me. And Wayne said, if you listen to the people in the crowd, you'll end up sitting with them. And it was from that moment, I went, you know what? I don't want to sit with them. I want them to keep on yelling out to me, because if they're yelling out to me, that means that I'm doing something that they would love to do. And if I end up sitting with them, well, then I just become one of them. And it was, as soon as he said that, the big fella, I just went into, okay, well, I'm obviously on the right path, because I'm out on the field doing what I love. And, the spectators are sitting in the crowd. And that's why they are spectators, because they are passionate about the team that you're playing against. So, you accept that. And once you do accept it, once you do accept what he said, you're a lot lighter with your football. You're a lot lighter with, you're okay with yourself.
So he's really the godfather of the game. He's got great knowledge, that guy.
Yeah, he does. And that's the thing about Wayne. Tactically, he's not the best coach, but as a man manager, to make you believe in yourself and give you the confidence to go out there and perform each week, that's something that, other than Wayne, that I've had, probably my two brothers when I was coached by them, when I went back and played for the Ipswich Jets, they're the same sort of coaches as Wayne. They make you believe that you can play the game. They make you believe that you're a good person. They make you believe and give you that confidence and instill that confidence to go out there and do what you got to do.
Yeah. Did you ever feel ashamed to talk to people about, hey, this is affecting me?
Oh, it's such a good question. Yeah, I did. I mean, the thing is, it's amazing when you do open up and you do talk and you do express your feelings, it's amazing how, and you know what, it doesn't happen the first time you do it. It doesn't happen the second time you do it. It doesn't happen the third time you do it. But what it does do, it's not as hard the second time. It's not as hard the third time, where you get to the point where once you start talking about, things that upset you, things that make you feel down, the things that don't put you in the best place. Like I said, the first 5 or 6 times you don't think that it helps, but after years of doing it, and sometimes months, it doesn't have to be years, but after months of talking about things that trigger unhappy thoughts or unhappy feelings, it's amazing once you know those triggers, how much better you can deal. Well, this is just me. How much better I can deal with things in my life that aren't going the right way.
Wow. Growing up in a male-dominated household, was that encouraged to talk about your feelings and sort of bring out that feminine side, as they say?
But it's not the feminine. Yeah, what I'm trying to say. It's not that side. It's, for me, it's I have a real take on why I think male suicides, and I'm not saying that females don't suicide, because everyone does, but the rate is higher is because, and this is just me. I feel that when you're a kid, and I've got 3 kids. I've got 2 daughters and a son, and I've got twins, boy girl twins. And I know with myself, and I've identified that when a young boy falls over in front of his dad and he skins his knee and he cries, the first thing the father does is pick him up and say, listen, or they won't even pick him up. They'll just grab him by the arm, or they'll say, listen, don't cry. You can't cry. Boys don't cry. Males don't cry. So as a young kid, as a young boy, it's almost like you've been told by your father to hide your emotions. But I know that I did it once with my twins. My young fella fell over. He started crying. I said, listen, Chase, get up. Boys don't cry. Come on, mate. Boys are tough. And then the exact same thing happened to his twin, Nala. She's my daughter. I went over. I picked her up. I cuddled her. I embraced her. I made sure that she was all right. Now, my kids are the same. They have the same brain, virtually the same brain. But when Chase is seeing me pick up Nala and cuddle her and make sure she's okay, well, then he's obviously thinking to himself, I've got to hide my emotions, or, why can't I have that same treatment from my dad, the same dad that picked up my sister, and give me a cuddle? And my twins are 11 and my daughter, Harper, she's 13. I ask them every single day if they're happy. I ask them every single day. I tell them every single day that that I love them. I tell them every single day that I'm proud of them. And when you open up that dialogue, like, I can talk to my kids about anything, and if they're in trouble or they do something wrong, they still feel like they can tell me. And it's once you shut those barriers down with your kids, well, hopefully the proof is in the pudding. When they get to that age and they have those bad days, they can ring me and say, Dad, listen, I need your advice. What's happening? And I don't want to shut that down. And it's about teaching your kids at a young age that you're there for them. I'm not a perfect dad. I know that I'm not, but no one is. And I feel, and this is just me, I feel that if you can embrace your son like you embrace your daughters, well, then that goes a long way for their mental health as well.
Well, how do you change that? Because I guess in society, we do look at it as more feminine. Males do joke about it. It's like, yeah, don't cry, mate, toughen up, princess. How do we change that language and that mentality? Because it's almost embedded in people that you don't cry because that's a female thing to do.
It's amazing. And my daughter asked me, my little daughter Nala, she's hilarious. She says, Dad, I've never seen you cry. Do you cry? And I said, I cry all the time. Like, I let my kids know that I cry, and it's okay to cry. And the change is happening. There is a change, and this is another thing. What women do so much far superior than what males. When they go to lunch with 10 of their mates, they'll sit there and they'll talk about their problems, and they'll express it. And out of the 10 that's there, probably nine of them will end up having a whole heap of wines and start crying and talk about their problems. But you know what males do? 10 males go to the pub and they want to be macho, and they talk about macho things, and they drink beer and they scull beer, and they'll probably have a fight, and then they won't talk about their problems, but it's all still bottled up. But women have this awesome knack where they can talk about their problems, but it is slowly changing. Like, I know with my friends that, if I'm feeling down or I'm feeling out, I know that I can. Like, I just got off the phone to one of my mates in North Queensland, and a lot of our discussion was about how our mental health was, and that's the discussion. I got off the phone to him 15 minutes before we started. Little Johnny Manning, I said, mate, how's everything going? How's your mental health? And he returned and he goes, yep, not too bad, feeling good. Had a big night on Friday night with the footy team up here. So how you feeling Monday, Tuesday? Yep, not too bad, good. And then he goes, how you feeling? How's your mental health? So those discussions are slowly happening. I could never imagine my father. He's an old school dude from the country. I could never, in my wildest conversations, hear him talk to his mate about his mental health.
Yeah, wow.
So, and my dad was a loving father. He's my hero. I rode on the back of that giant, and I still am. He, and he asked us about how we're going and how we're feeling, and like he's pretty in touch, but it's not like it's slowly the shift is slowly coming towards us now, and unfortunately with the current situation that we're in, everyone's in with this current climate that we're in with COVID and people in lockdowns and people not knowing what's going on. This is the time. This is the time to talk. This is the time. If there's any time in the world, if there's any time in life, right now, over the last 18 months, the last 2 years since this COVID pandemic's hit, people have been in lockdowns. Like I noticed, and this is another thing, I noticed when we went into a lockdown about 4 weeks ago, Queensland went into a lockdown, or South East Queensland went into a lockdown for 7 days. I was in the shower and I was sitting there and I was just having a moment to myself, and I was like, what, I started questioning myself and my life. And I got out of the shower and I walked over to my wife, Courtney. I said, listen, if we go on any further lockdown, just keep an eye on me. And because I wasn't training, and I find that when I start getting to those moments of, self-doubt and, a little bit down, I'll go for a run, or I'll go train, or I'll go do something, because it just releases those endorphins, it releases those chemicals in my head to make me feel happy. And I said to my wife, if we go down to lockdown, can you keep an eye on me, and can you make sure that I wake up at 5 o'clock every morning and I go for my walk or I go for my run, because then that sets my day. Because I wasn't doing it. It was only 6 days, and you sit in front of the idiot box and you hear all these negative reports, and of course you're going to feel down. Of course, I'm a very positive person, but if I'm going to sit there for 24 hours a day or 16 hours a day in front of the TV and watch these reports about negativity, well, of course it's going to affect you. And unfortunately, we look at New South Wales, and they've been in lockdown they're going into their 12th week. Now, mentally, I honestly couldn't be locked in my house for more than, I came back from PNG when the lockdowns first happened. So I got to quarantine at my house, and not the beauty of going outside at the back and go for a fish. But these poor guys, they go into quarantine or go into house and they can't leave. And it's just this right now is probably the most important time for mental health and getting that conversation started.
Yeah, oh, definitely. And it's funny how if you don't establish that routine, how it can just really debunk you, because, you lose that motivation, and you sit in front of the TV for long periods of time, and it derails you. But do you think rugby league is catching on to help support players and their mental health?
Well, the thing is, I've been out of the game now for 10 years. I do speak to a lot of the guys. Like I said, the shift between the players is slowly going to that side of making sure they keep an eye on players and keep an eye on their mates in the team and keep an eye on other teammates in other teams or other people they know. There is definitely a shift. I've been out of the inner sanctum now for 10 years, so I don't know what programs the NRL have for the current players, but I know that they've taken a big stance, especially since I've retired, even before I retired, that the NRL help the players after they do finish their careers, because once upon a time in the good old days when they were tough footballers, they still are, but it was basically finish the last game, you're retired, you get your last paycheck, and see you later, go fend for yourself. But I know that there's a lot of programs that the NRL have put in place for players when they do retire. It's not like falling off a cliff. If players are starting to get to the end of their careers, careers people come in and talk about what they can do, so there's not that financial strain when they do finish playing their last game.
Yeah, wow. And it is, because I think for so long rugby league is your identity. And then looking on your career, how did you know what was next for you? And did you feel a sense of loss of identity leaving rugby league?
I was pretty blessed. And like when I first entered rugby league, I had two brothers that had trailblazed their way through. And I also had the privilege of watching Ben and Shane retire. My two older brothers retire. And when they retired, they didn't have a career to go into. They now do. They now both own very, very successful businesses. but I saw that player fall off the cliff. I saw my two players fall off the cliff, as I say, fall off the cliff with their payment and not being able to play rugby league anymore. So I identified early that I wanted an exit strategy from playing rugby league. And my exit strategy, I started a earth moving company 3 years before I retired. So my wages, I was earning more money in the earth moving business than what I was playing football. So that was, but it all went down south, and that was another thing that affected my mental. I had a business that fell over. I lost a lot of things in my life that I'd accumulated over my rugby league career and obviously my business. I had it for 9 years, and unfortunately, there was a downturn. There were people that don't pay, but that's made me better today. Is what I've been through with losing a business. But I had that set up and ready to go. So when I did finish my rugby league career, I had a fairly substantial business to take over.
Yeah, wow. And then if we talk about Fund My Challenge, how did the concept come about? Why did you want to pursue it? Give us a little insight.
Yeah, this is probably the most rewarding thing I've ever done in my life. It is. I wake up every morning like I did when I first started playing football, like as a rookie and learning new things. And it was born out of what we've seen with Celeste Barber with the fires in 2020, where Celeste thought that she was doing a wonderful thing, raising money for what she thought was going to build houses for people that lost their houses, lost everything through the fires in these regional areas. And her not knowing, she chose the New South Wales Royal Fire Brigade, who do a fantastic job. But she was hoping to raise, I think 100,000 was a target. Got to $53 million, and went, you know what? I'm going to nominate the New South Wales Royal Fire Brigade because that was on TV and that's what we were seeing. And she was thinking that money was going to go to buying building houses, builders to go in and build people's houses, which is awesome. But the money went into the New South Wales Royal Fire Brigade in their constitution. They could only spend it on new trucks, training, and new equipment, which is great because the next fires that sweep through these regional areas in New South Wales, they're going to have the best machinery to get rid of it and stop the blazes. But she thought that it was going to go to building houses. And I thought to myself, it would be good to be able to have a platform that there's 58,000 registered DGR charities in Australia. And unfortunately, some of those charities don't spend the money where it should go. So the platform Fund My Challenge has, we're vetted at the process now, I think roughly, because we're only new, roughly 600 charities. And I think we only have about 34 on board that meet our criteria. And one of those criteria is they need to spend more than 60% on their actual charitable cause. And on top of that, when they sign our agreement to come onto our platform, they need to spend that money that's been donated through Fund My Challenge in 12 months, and they can't keep it for a future cause. It needs to be spent within that 12 months because the first 12 months that the money's handed over is the most significant, and that's what we're very proud of at Fund My Challenge. Is we want, and if charities are the 50% or 55%, well, then we would love to have them on board, because if we can keep raising money for them and then make sure that money is spent within the 12 months, they'll be a charity up to 60, 65, 70% in no time. So it's a very rewarding platform. And for our launch, I got to walk from Cairns and I finished at the Gold Coast. I walked for 71 days. So and that's another thing that if I wasn't involved with Fund My Challenge, I would never have got to do.
Yeah, I did see that walk on your socials. It's good to see the beards come off.
Yeah, it's come off. It's out.
How was that experience for you, and how did that generally work out? So did you get to have a break, or did you, get to go and have dinner, or how did that play out?
Okay, so my rules for my walk, it took me 71 days to walk from Cairns to Gold Coast. I had the privilege of having, Q Ford, who's like the Ford dealership. They donated 3 Ford Rangers to keep me safe. So I had one Ford Ranger in front of me, then me, and then I had 2 Ford Rangers or 2 Fords behind me, 2 cars behind me. And I had a support team, Nate Miles, who is an ex-NRL great, played 32 games for Queensland, one of the nicest guys you'd ever meet in your life. I had his dad drive the second car, and then I had another guy, Will Van Hoss, who's an ex-truck driver, who was on the 2 ways to all the big rigs coming through to keep me safe. But yeah, we had 71 days. I had 2 days off on the whole time that I was walking, and what my schedule was to walk 30 kilometres per day, which is roughly around 5.5 hours. And then what we'd do is we'd have a landmark, get in the car, go to the next town where we were staying, do my recovery. The recovery would be ice baths, and then I had some other some sponsors give me some recovery stuff, Body Science, Hyper Ice. I'll give them a plug. Rebel Sport all gave me some things to get me going for the next day. But I did it for 71 days, and to be quite honest with you, it's probably one of the most rewarding, best things I've ever done in my, apart from being married and having kids, is probably up there with probably the 5th best thing that I've ever done in my life.
Wow. And why you? Why did you decide to do this?
Oh, one of my mates who he's 58 years of age, so he's a lot older than what I am. He did it 15 years ago, and he walked from Cairns to Redcliffe, and he raised $2 million for the Redcliffe Children's Hospital. So and I played golf with him, and we got talking about Fund My Challenge, and he's really intrigued about Fund My Challenge. And he said to me, just in passing comment, he said, "Why don't you walk from Cairns to Gold Coast?" And as soon as he said it, as soon as it came out of his mouth, and I didn't want to do it, as soon as it came out of his mouth, I went, challenge accepted. And I went, right, I'll do it. And I did it. I did it without even thinking. And I was like, yeah, I'll do it. Yeah, sweet, no worries. I didn't even, because I'd heard about his walk before, because he had told me about it, and didn't even think about it. I said, yeah, okay, done. Oh, sweet, I'm doing it. They got on the phone to the guys at Fund My Challenge and said, right, I'm walking from Cairns to Gold Coast. And they went, you're serious, aren't you? And I said, yeah, let's do it. And then I got home to Courtney, and I said, guess what? I'm walking from Cairns to Gold Coast. And she goes, have you thought about it? I said, no, not really. And she goes, well, let's have a look into it. And then as soon as I started looking into it and actually going through, I've got a poster of Queensland on my wall here, and I looked at it and I was like, man, that's a long way. But like I said, it was the most, it's up there with, like, it is so satisfying. And I switched off the TV. I didn't watch TV for 71 days. I was walking into these little communities and little towns and having dinner at people's houses that were offering to have me in to have dinner with their families because they'd seen me come through. Everything they spoke to me about was positive. Everything they spoke to me was so positive. And I wasn't watching, because I was up at 5 o'clock each morning, getting my team ready to walk 30 Ks. And then once I'd finish, I'd go back, I'd do my recovery and would have dinner and would talk, and I'd be with community. I'd be with footy clubs. I'd be with Rotary. Like anyone who knew that I was coming through town would have barbecues. There was no negativity in my life. Everything that was engaged in with my life at that time was positive. There was not one negative. And it's amazing what that journey did for my mindset. If someone had said to me, "You're going to be the happiest you could ever be by walking along a highway," I would have told them that they're on drugs. I would have told them to piss off, or but that's like, it was you're walking along and you're seeing some of the most beautiful countryside in the world. You're meeting some of the most amazing people in the world, and everything's positive. There was not one negativity on the whole journey.
Yeah, wow. And then I know that there would have been an immense physical effect on your body, but in that experience, how did you deal with the mental side of it? Because I would imagine you'd be having thoughts of like, let's just give up. Like, seriously, let's just stop here. The feet are hurting, the body's hurting. Let's just throw the towel.
It's amazing. Like the hardest part of my day was the first 2 minutes I opened up my eyes. And that was honestly, it was the hardest part, because I wasn't saying, oh, today's Tuesday, tomorrow's Wednesday, and I was saying, right, today's day 5, today's day 10, day 13, day 17, day 28, day 30, day 40, day 50. Once I realised who I was doing it for, because I was doing it for some organisations that had some massive increases beyond blue, some massive increases for their cause during this pandemic. Beyond Blue was one of my beneficiaries. Rise Up, which is domestic violence, another one. Alcohol and Drug Foundation. They'd all seen massive increases over the pandemic through their cause. There were people coming through, the suicides. There was family, mothers and fathers losing their jobs, beating their kids. Alcohol and Drug Foundation gone through the roof because everyone turns and tries to escape reality by drinking and getting on the drugs. So the first 2 minutes, I opened my eyes and what am I doing this for? Once I gained my bearings and I knew what I was doing it for, and those people that I was putting it out on my social media, I had a lot of people every single day wake up and see what I was doing, and then gain the strength to go out and take their day on. And it was so cool. Like, the messages I was getting were, you can't script it. There were people, when I had a day off, there were people saying, oh, I can't wait for you to get going again because you inspire me to get up and do what I need to do for the day. It's awesome. It was a really, really, really cool trip.
Yeah, wow. Do you think people should be taking that? Sorry, go.
Oh, it was so rad. It was so rad.
I'll just ask about that. How was the physical effect on the body?
Oh, I'm still getting it. Like, it's been 9 weeks since I've been home, and I'm still, like, I'm not 21 anymore. I'm 41 years of age. If I had done it when I'm 20, I probably could have done it quicker. But my left knee is still giving me grief. My lower back's still giving me grief. My right knee's giving me grief. I've got a horribly infected ingrown toenail on my right foot that still hasn't got better after 9 weeks. I'm run down, like I'm run down. I'm tired, but at the end of the day, it's that I'm not going to complain about it. Physically, it was very hard, but a lot of people around not only Queensland, New South Wales, or Australia, but the world are in far greater disadvantage than what I am. So I'm not going to complain about it. I'll just hopefully my body recovers quicker than what I thought it was.
Yeah. And do you think people should take that concept into their everyday life, and especially during lockdown, that when you wake up, you should remind yourself of what you're getting up for?
100%. It is the best leveler. Once you open your eyes, sometimes if you're going through, and I know this for a fact because I've been there, you wake up and you go, oh, right, I don't want to face today. But it's amazing once you get out. The biggest thing for me is routine. If I'm out of my routine, and I know this with a lot of my mates as well because we talk about it, if I fall out of a routine of waking up at 5 or 5:30 in the morning and going for a walk or going for a run or going for it's as easy as going for a 45-minute walk around a park. If you've got a beach, go to a beach, get in the car, drive to a beach, get in the car, drive to a park, drive to a walkway or a bush track. Everyone's got one near their house. If you wake up I've worked out, if you wake up 2 hours before your usual time, so if your usual time is at 7:30, wake up at 5:30, have 45 minutes of me time in bed where there's no one awake in the house. This is my routine. I like waking up at anywhere between 5 to 5:30. The house is still pitch black. It's quiet. hear a church, you can hear a mouse burp. That's how quiet it is, and that's my time. And I got 45 minutes where I lay in bed and I'll read emails, or I'll look at social media, or read something online, and then I get up, I go for a walk for 45 minutes, get up, bring back a coffee for myself and my wife, and get the kids ready for school, and then come into work. And that's my routine that gets me going. Sometimes I'll go train for an hour, and I've found my mental state through the day is so positive.
That's awesome.
So
it is great. As you said, that routine, if you establish it early, it's great, and it really sets up your day. I want to talk a little bit about you being a dad. Were you scared to be a father?
No, I wasn't. Because I come from a family that if my older brothers had kids, I'd seen what they'd gone through. I come from a good family where we're all very, very close. So I was very excited to bring my kids up the same way we were brought up as kids. My brothers and I, we never had a TV for 12 years. So, we'd always do something together. That's how come we're all so close. That's how come we all look after each other. And I was very excited at the prospect of having kids. And I wanted to have more than 3, but my wife wouldn't let me. So, I'm happy with 3, and I'm happy that Courtney was pregnant twice with having twins. We got 3 kids, so it was for me. I guess if I was the oldest in my family and I was the first one to be a dad, well, then I would have been scared. But I had the luxury again of having my older brothers have kids before me, so I saw exactly what they went through.
Yeah, wow. Are you? Yeah, you go.
Yeah, sorry.
No, I was going to ask, growing up, and are you scared for your kids growing up in a very diverse and different environment with social media and added pressures?
No, I'm not, because I educate my kids on social media, especially, and I educate my kids because my eldest Harper, she's 13, so she is in that really impressive age. Like there's always that, you've got to do this to be in the cool group. So, and she's very comfortable in her own skin, Harper. She definitely one of my kids I don't really have to worry about. She's very street smart, and that's little things that I teach. I'm academically, I'm a D&E student. So, but Harper, she's very very intelligent in that way. Chase, my young fella, I'm a little bit worried about him. He's pretty impressionable. But I think it's just as a father and as parents, and it's the people that they hang around too. So, if I can keep an eye on their close group of friends at school and know that there's no rat bags in amongst them, well, they should be right. So you just got to guide them through. You can't hold their hand with everything. You got to let them fall over. You got to let them make the mistakes. So it's about educating on mistakes, I think.
Yeah. Oh, and it sounds like you've already put in amazing practices to help them with mental health and struggles. If they do, they know that they can come to you, and that's something that I think you should be very proud of. Especially those kids. Would be great.
Yeah, and the thing is, like I at a young age, it's almost like my wife. She says to me, you got to scare the kids. You got to make sure that the kids are scared of you. Like she goes, I was scared of my dad, and I said, well, I was scared of my dad too, and I respect him. It's about, for me, it's about at a very young age. I always said to my kids that if they got into trouble at school and I found out and they didn't tell me, they weren't honest with me, or if they did something wrong and the law was involved, I went to that extreme. I said, if you do something wrong and I find out about it, well, then you're going to be in trouble. But if you do something wrong and you come and let me know, well, then I'll sit down and work it out with you from the get-go, and you won't be in trouble because you're honest with me. You made a mistake. Everyone makes mistakes. And I think because I made so many mistakes and, I had people that gave me the chance to explain myself and work it out together, I think that's the best way forward. I that's my parenting. I'm not saying that everyone's going to parent that way, but if you can let your kids, if you give them that that chance to I've been in that situation that if you know that you're in the wrong and you say you're in the wrong and you did something wrong, that's the hardest thing to say because you know you're going to get in trouble. But if you give them that confidence, I would give my daughter the confidence. She got in trouble at school last year, and I gave her the confidence to say, listen, if I find out, because I did hear, and I said, listen, what happened? She goes, right, I'm going to tell you. And I was like, right, let's sit down together and work this out. And that's always been the case.
Yeah, that's awesome. That is so good. I think more of us need to be like that. Yeah, I remember so many times going to my dad and mum.
It does rips my heart out, but I'm not going to sit down and lecture my kids because I've probably done something wrong, but I want them to know that I'm always there for them.
Yeah, and that is so important, that family connection and knowing that they have someone, and even establishing that community. I think that's what's always been great with rugby league, is establishing it does have a community and there is people out there for you. And I think we need to embrace that a lot more.
Oh, 100%, 1,000,000%.
Yeah. Awesome. All right. And then lastly, what is your advice? So based on your own personal experience, someone that may be a father, let's talk about fatherhood a little bit first. What would be your advice to another father who may be struggling to connect with their kids, or wants to be, everything that you've said, but traditionally, it's hard to break that?
It's about, I think it's about getting on the level of your kids. I think one thing for me, I don't care who the kid is, if you can instill confidence in them. For me, if you can tell your kid that you love them, and if you can tell your kid that you're proud of them, well, then you watch their heart be a peacock. You watch their chest be a peacock. You watch them come out of their shell and sit down, and it doesn't happen the first 5 or 6 times you say it. You've got to say, don't overdo it. That's something that, you can't overdo love. You can't overdo showing your kids affection. You can't overshow your kids, letting them know that you're proud of them. But don't say it to them every day, every single day, or morning and night. I'm so proud of you. But I think getting on the level of your kid, finding out if they're happy, finding out if they're sad, finding out what's wrong with them. That's a big one. And then telling them that you love them, tell them that you're proud of them. And when they do something right, it's about encouragement for me. It's about, because kids will always respond to encouragement. Kids will always respond to their fathers and their parents that they look up to, that are their role models. If John Smith down the road said that he was proud of me and I didn't know him, I wouldn't care. But if my dad said to me, oh, Chris, I'm proud of you, or Chris, I love you, well, then that bears more weight than anyone saying anything to my kid, whether it be negative or saying it to me negative, or everything in between. So first and foremost is getting on the level of your kids. And when I say that is finding out if they're happy, finding out if they're sad, finding out what's happening at school, finding out what's happening in their group of friends, because some of the group of friends they're not always nice, even though you think that they've got heaps of friends. And then just showing them affection, showing that, I love you and I'm proud of you. That's two of the probably the strongest words you can say to your kids is, I love you and I'm proud of you.
I can definitely vouch for that. They have very powerful messages. And then second thing, what advice would you give to another man about embracing looking after their mental health?
Talk 100%. Talk. Go. For me, it's talk, talk, routine, physical exercise. That they're 3 things that if you can master those, I think that you're on your way to a better lifestyle. I know that when I was having when I had my business, because of my stress, I was having 4 or 5 massive anxiety attacks a day, and these things were crippling. These things were and when I felt them coming on, I was like, the next 15 minutes of my life, I want to end. And I got talking to Nate Miles, one of my good mates. He owns F45 gyms, and I got talking to him about my stress and my anxiety levels, and I'd never had them before. And I said to Nate, I'm having these anxiety attacks because I went to the doctor, found out what I was having because I never had them before. And And I said to him, I said, mate, what's going on? He goes, mate, listen, do yourself a favour. I've got the Burleigh gym up here at Burleigh Heads. Come in. I'm not going to charge you a membership. He said, you can come and use the gym whenever you want. You can come and join the classes whenever you want. It was amazing. And it didn't, like I said, it didn't happen overnight. It wasn't like I went and did one training session and I never had an anxiety attack again in my life. It was a process. The whole thing's a process. But getting back, retraining your brain, retraining my brain, because I was very positive. I was always fit. I was always healthy. I was always in a routine. And then when I had my business, my routine went out, my training went out the window, everything went out the window. And it took me maybe 6 or 7 months to go from having 4 or 5 anxiety attacks a day to 4 or 5 anxiety attacks a week, to 4 or 5 anxiety attacks a month, then 4 or 5 anxiety attacks a year. And I've probably had 4 or 5 anxiety. I've probably had 5 anxiety attacks in the last 8 years, probably 5 times. And it was just, not 8 years. I probably had 1 anxiety attack per year, and that was from lack of sleep. So it's all about training your brain. And I had one guy reach out to me because I was talking about this on my social media once, and he said, I've been training for a week and I'm still feeling depressed. And I said, mate, you're going to need to train for 6 months to get out of that. I said, but it'll change. Everything changes. And my mate committed suicide my best mate committed suicide when I was 19. And Wayne Bennett wrote down on a post-it note, because I went and confronted him about it because it affected me big time. And I was only 19 at the time, and he wrote down on a little post-it note, and he said, suicide is a permanent solution to a temporary problem. And I left that post-it note in my wallet for about 10 years. And the only reason I don't have that note anymore is because I lost my wallet.
Damn it, but you still remember it up here.
Suicide is a permanent solution to a temporary problem. And temporary it's not temporary for a week, temporary might be for a year, because you're always going to come out of it. Everyone comes out of it. When they talk, they get themselves into an exercise routine and they get themselves into a life routine.
If you don't mind me just quickly asking about your anxiety attacks, were you scared in that moment, not knowing what was happening to you?
I honestly thought when I first had one, I thought the world was just going to open up and I was going to fall down and the world was just going to swallow me up. It was the worst feeling I've ever had in my life.
Wow.
And I do some mind talks for mental health in mines. And I went up to my first mine talk. This is going back about 6 years ago. I went up to them. There was 200 miners at this presentation that I was doing for about 45 minutes. And when I got up and spoke, the microphone started playing up. You know when that makes that really horrible noise? My anxiety levels just went through the roof, and I could feel. And when I knew I was getting my anxiety, I started sweating in my head, like my hair, and I felt like there was just a wave of sweat coming all over my face, and I sweat all over my clothes. And I walked out after 10 minutes of my presentation. My shirt was drenched, and I walked and sat outside for an hour, and I couldn't compose myself. And then I came back in, and I just went around and spoke to everyone in groups of 5 or 6, and it was amazing how many people who were at that presentation that saw me have a massive, it's probably the biggest anxiety attack I've ever had in my life. And I walked out, and it's amazing how many people, the mine manager who got me up there, it was the first one that I did, and I went up there for 5 years after that and did it. And I'd do it every, say, 6 weeks. And he said to me, amazing how many people come up to him the next day and said, I've experienced what Chris went through. I just didn't know what it was.
Wow. That's phenomenal.
Oh, it's crazy. It's so debilitating to have anxiety. It's so hard, but that was my thing to get rid of it, was just train, was talk, train, routine.
And did you seek help for that?
Yeah, I went to the doctor. I didn't know what was going on. I was like, what are these things that I'm having? Like, I hate them. And the thing is, one thing one thing the doctor said to me, he said, because I said to him, mate, how do I deal with this? And he said, one mechanism that you can do to help you not have a really bad anxiety is when you feel the anxiety come on, don't fight it. Just accept that it's come on and just have some self-talk to yourself. This was the little pointers that he gave me, which helped massively, was once they come on, I had the self-talk as everything's okay, I'm not going to die, and I'm healthy. That were the three things I would say to myself. And it got to a point where I was experiencing these, and then I'd let it come in. I'd identify I was there. I'd have my self-talk, and then it was like a rush that it used to just leave me. And I was on a high for 2 or 3 minutes after it went away, and I'd beaten it. It was awesome. Like I got to a point of I was enjoying them, and that was to a point where it was like, right, I've got to get back into some hard training.
Yeah, wow. It is amazing. I remember when I used to have my anxiety attacks, my psychologist at the time told me it's like a wave, and you kind of reach the wave and you hit that peak, and then you just got to let yourself come down from the wave.
So true. And did you find if you fought it or tried to stop it, would it get worse?
Yeah, the wave would get bigger.
The wave would get bigger, and that was the thing for me. The wave would get bigger, and I do, school visits and talk to kids and that, and like I'll be up there and I can feel myself the tension there, and I go, right, everything's okay, and it just goes away, and it's not those big ones that I used to get.
Yeah.
Pretty crazy.
Yeah,
pretty crazy what can go up and up.
Yeah, and how the mind can make the body react in such a way, as you said, like the sweat and then also the panic, and it's like the microphone just stopped working. Like that's all that it is. When you think about it logically, it's like it's not a big issue.
I know, and that's the thing. 10 times out of 10, I'll say 10 times out of 10, and I can't talk for everyone. The 10 times out of 10, it's a bigger overthinking issue than what it actually really is.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. Anxieties are, for me, if I'm overthinking things, if I'm because I'm an overthinker, unfortunately, if I'm overthinking things, the anxieties will appear.
I think there's a lot of us in that club, that overthinking club.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Definitely.
Well, thank you so much for sharing your story today, and also talking a lot about your business. You were doing so much, and you should be very proud of your journey. It's been a long one. It's obviously been a tough one as well, but you've learnt so much, and you've shared so many positive and great things that so many people can learn from today. And I want to express out there to anyone as well who is watching this, know that there is help, that there is resources out there, and you can get support and get through that wave. There is so many stories of survival and so many stories of people that actually do get through this. So know that there is hope. And you said so many amazing quotes today.
Bloody oath. And we're all in it together. We all get it. And that's another thing too. Just know that there are people out there that do get it. You're not alone.
Oh, definitely. And where can people find you? What are your socials, and where can people connect with you?
Yeah, I'm just on Instagram. I don't do TikTok. I'll leave that for the kids. But yeah, Instagram, I am Chris Walker. And then Fund My Challenge. It's another platform. It's our platform, which is Fund My Challenge app. And that is on social media as well. That's Facebook and Instagram.
Beautiful. So you guys can go check out Chris there. But once again, thank you for joining us today, Chris. You were doing amazing work, and I'm appreciative for you coming on. And then everyone out there for joining us for another Secret Sunday session. We hope you have a great Sunday, and we'll catch you next time.
Peace.